Hi, I'm Antonio Centeno. I'm the founder of Real Men Real Style. Today, gentlemen, I'm going to talk to you about grooming your eyebrows. Basically, I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to do it. I'm going to talk about why it's important. And guys, this is something that isn't really talked about much. I know many of you guys are out there thinking, Antonio, I don't want to be shaping my eyebrows. I don't want to be doing anything. I mean, these things should just, I'm going to leave them natural. And guys, I understand that. And a lot of that comes from when you're younger. You don't have to worry about this. But as you get older, your body changes. The hair and the amount, the growth rate, the thickness, all of this changes. And if you've ever met a man that he's got just these eyebrows that are out of control, or someone's got a unibrow, what happens? You are distracted. You think that they are frowning or they're grumpy, and they're not. Just look at Bert. Remember old Bert with Bert and Ernie? I mean, he always looked grumpy. And what does he have? He's got that unibrow. Guys, the reason that you should care about this is it affects the way that you communicate with the world and that people perceive you. I want you to understand that it is something that you can, and if you've got questions, you don't want to do it yourself, talk to your barber. Most men never ask their barber, but your barber, he can actually trim your eyebrows. He can go in there and he can take care of any ear hair. You can ask him to make sure, stop in there and just have him trim the hair off the neck. All of this loose excess hair, simply talk to a man that is his profession. Go visit them at a salon if it's something you want to have professionally done. Okay, so let's talk about the 5 methods. Number 1 is to actually pluck the hairs. This is probably, it's a little bit painful, but I find, and I do this myself occasionally, I would have maybe a little bit of a unibrow here. I'll probably, once every 2 weeks, I'll go through and I'll pluck out a lot of the hairs that are right here. Within 24 hours, I'll oftentimes have a little bit of redness. So if I'm gonna film, I'm not gonna do that right before. So you would probably maybe wanna do this on maybe a Sunday morning. That way, Monday morning, there's no redness or anything. I find that it's very simple. Yes, it's a little bit painful, but that is the best way to prevent the unibrow. In addition, if I've got any random stray hairs that are way outside and just growing there, I'll remove those as well. Now, types of tweezers, and I've talked about this in another video where we talk about different grooming instruments, actually more for your nails, but I did talk about tweezers. The 2 styles I'm going to recommend are going to be the rounded tip and basically the angled edge. Either of these are going to work. Make sure you've got a good pair. These are made by Apex. You guys know I also recommend Zamberg and the products they have over there that are coming out of Solingen, Germany. But guys, make sure you've got a good pair of tweezers, and that way you can take care of this. Point number 2 is to actually trim. So when it comes to trimming, use scissors. You can use a small comb. And what you're looking for, and what I found when I entered my 30s, all of a sudden I started getting these hairs that didn't stop growing. I mean, these things, they probably should have been on my head, and they just kept growing and growing. I used to take a comb, and then I would actually go backwards on my eyebrows, find those random ones, and go in there and do a little bit of trimming. I personally like scissors that have the rounded tip. Anytime I'm near my eye, I just have this fear that I'm gonna run this into my head that way, but you can use, of course, curved scissors. This is where having nail scissors is very nice, but you can use other types of small scissors as well. My favorite tool, though, is going to be this Norelco 5100 series. I love it because it's got this special tool with a actual guard. And why I love this guard is I can basically, so I used to think that I could just go over and not even have to worry about this. I have realized that I can push this to a limit, so make sure you're controlling it. For some reason, I thought that I could never really, fully trim off my eyebrow, and I did that one time. In fact, if you go back to some of my, maybe a year and a half ago, if you look at some of my eyebrows in some of those older videos, you will find one in which half my eyebrow is gone. I didn't say anything, but yes, that did happen because I was experimenting. Now, you can also use the rounded type. This one's made by Wall, and these are good. These are more designed for cleaning out your nose hair. However, you can take a comb and just go over there and trim those off that way. So those are my favorite 2 methods: pluck, trim. These other ones I'm going to mention you probably need to have professionally done, and that's going to be wax. So if you're going to go in and get the wax treatment, make sure you work with someone who knows what they're doing. Be careful if you're going to do this yourself. Maybe talk with your wife. She's probably used waxing products before, your girlfriend. The other one is threading. Now, I know women who actually thread, and they think it's a great method, and that could be something to work for you as well to get rid of some of the excess hair there. Be very careful. Once we get into waxing, threading, all of a sudden we're getting into shaping the eyebrows. I do not believe a man needs to fully shape his eyebrows. You maybe want to remove the unibrow, but what you don't want to have are these sharp points and these angled edges. That's not what we're looking for, and that takes me to point number 4, which is shaving. Guys, straight razors, I love them. You do not want to be using these on your eyebrows. You don't want to be using a cartridge razor. You don't want to be shaving your eyebrows off or shaving them to shape them. The reason being is you're going to get the stubble. It's going to come right back, and in some cases it could be a little bit thicker, and it's just going to look odd. It's going to draw attention to itself because of the contrast. There is the case, I know some of you guys may have illnesses, you may have issues with your eyebrows, the hair actually falling out. In that case, then I can understand if you're going to go on and you're going to actually draw on your eyebrows. But guys, you know who I'm talking about. You got somebody in your life, some older woman that you love, and she has decided to shave off her eyebrows, or she has trimmed those things all out and she's drawn them on. Guys, we don't want to get you to that point, so avoid going overboard. And that would be the last piece of advice. This is just bonus, is I prefer a little bit more hair. You are a man. It's okay to have bushier eyebrows, but it's better to trim it and to be very careful with the plucking. But once you get into all the other ones, the waxing, the threading, and especially the shaving, be careful. Guys, that's it. I would love to hear from you in the comments what you think about this subject. Is it something that you do, that you've got some tips or tricks that you want to give us? And if you want more information, you want to go and check out the products I recommended, guys, go over to the article over at Real Men Real Style. I'm going to link to that down below. Take care and enjoy happy grooming.